my fandom friends! Today we're going to be yet again talking about Demon Slayer Infinity Castle. However, things that were not animated in Infinity Castle that probably should have been. If you have not seen Demon Slayer Infinity Castle yet, I highly encourage you to go watch that first and then come back to this video because we're going to be talking about some things that happen in the manga. However, these are things that don't happen in the animation, but they all have something to do with Akaza and his backstory, and I don't want to spoil you if you have not seen the movie yet. So with that being said, today we're going to be talking about manga 18 by Gotoge Sensei, the author of Demon Slayer. Between chapters 156 and 158, there's actually extra tidbits, as the author explains, that they could not add into the manga due to time restraints and just making Akaza's backstory too long. However, they also didn't add it into the animation, which I thought was really interesting. Today, I am going to be going over this extra backstory that we did not get to see in the animation, so that if you're not a manga reader, you can also see part of this backstory that was not shown in the animation. There's no word for exactly why they left it out of the animation, but my best guess is because the backstory was already super long and the fight with Akaza took up like an hour and a half of the movie as it was, and so adding on this extra content would have made it probably at least another 10-20 minutes. So they were probably just trying to make pacing as close to the manga as possible. So let's get right into this juicy part of the story that was not in Infinity Castle. So starting off, we have the Soryu Dojo, which is the place that Hakuji trains under with the dojo master, as well as takes care of Koyuki, the dojo master's daughter. The neighboring dojo to this place is what we're going to be talking about. This particular dojo had a son and heir that was around the same age as Koyuki. However, he was super violent and arrogant. Nobody really liked him, but he really liked Koyuki. He did not respect her in any way. Even when she wasn't feeling the best, he would force her to get up and go outside and do different activities with him, until one day when she had an asthma attack and he became frightened over that and left her basically to suffer. Hakuji thankfully came, found her, and was able to save her life, and without him showing up, she probably would have died due to that dojo's son. Obviously, Hakuji was furious about this because he does care about her and he does protect her, which led to an argument and a feud between that dojo and the dojo that Hakuji was training at. Due to this argument and feud between both of these dojos, Hakuji actually took it upon himself to fight some of the people in the neighboring dojo, and at 16 years old was able to defeat 9 members. During all of this, Keizo, the dojo master, was on standby, and him and Hakuji forbade any kind of involvement between both of these dojos moving forward. This upset the son, the heir from the other dojo, which enticed him to actually take out a real sword and attack Hakuji. Hakuji, thankfully being skilled in his abilities, was able to stop the sword by striking the blade with the side of his fist, which actually broke the weapon in 2. This, of course, is an ability that Hakuji is very proficient at, and he calls the Bell Splitter. This is also really interesting because we also see Akaza use this kind of form and skill as a demon as well. Due to that specific skill that Hakuji performed on the neighboring dojo's son and heir, the father of that son actually took it upon himself to put an end to this feud between both dojos because he felt inspired by that skill. They both admitted defeat and moving forward admitted that they would not continue to harass Hakuji's dojo. Many years later, the master of that neighboring dojo passed away, which was around the time when Hakuji and Koyuki were going to get married, which sparked the interest of the neighboring dojo's son and heir yet again because he has feelings for Koyuki still. This heir is the person who decided to put poison in the well that ended up killing Koyuki and Keizo because he knew that he wouldn't be able to win in a fight against Hakuji, so he took the cowardly way of just putting poison in the well. Thankfully, they did not get away with this totally successfully because an elderly woman actually witnessed the heir of the other dojo, as well as his followers, leaving the dojo that night. After Keizo and Koyuki had drank the water, the poisoned water from the well, Koyuki actually died pretty quick because of her already apparent illnesses, so she died pretty early on, and Keizo actually carried her body to the physician's house in order to try to help her as he himself was coughing up blood and dying. Unfortunately, of course, he did not make it in time for the sake of his daughter or himself. He ended up suffering a lot longer than she did, and of course, they both passed away. That concludes the extra tidbits from the author in the manga. There's also a little drawing of the dojo's heir from the neighboring dojo, and he actually was one of the 67 people that Hakuji defeated within that number that he massacred that night. Here is the image of what he would have looked like if he had been animated. That concludes the rest of the extra story that was not included in the animation. I do think that this would have been really interesting to see, obviously would have added on to the emotion, but again, the backstory was already so long as it is, and so the animators probably just didn't want to add in an extra 10 minutes or so to add this chunk. However, if you're a manga reader, you do get that little secret tidbit in the story, which is also kind of cool. And now the rest of the world can hear it too, if you don't know and are not a manga reader. Let me know your thoughts about this really sad extra tidbit that was not put into the animation, as well as Akaza's backstory as a whole being as emotional as it already is. I will see you next time for some more fandom fun. Bye!